Hi, friends. So Unit 5, Lesson 1 is all about how to view quantitative data. Remember, quantitative data is numbers. So in this lesson, we want to think about what is the best way to display that quantitative data. So we want to make sure that we are showing all the data points and that we are showing the scale. So like, where are the data points really close together and where are they really spread apart? One way we can do that is through using a dot plot. A dot plot is going to stack dots one on top of the other to show how many times a data point shows up in a data set. So here we've got a data set of shoe sizes. So we've got a bunch of friends that all wrote down their shoe sizes. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag the dots onto the graph to show where the data points fall. So we've got a 5. So I'm going to drag the dot over to the 5. The next shoe size was a 9. So I'll drag the next shoe size over to the 9. Then we've got a 7. So I drag it over to the 7. The next shoe size is a 7.5. So I'm going to put it halfway between 7 and 8. So you can see that was pretty easy, but if I had like a 7.65, that would be weird and a dot plot wouldn't be a good choice for us. So let's keep going. Then we've got an 8. Then we've got a 6. Then we've got another 8. So I'm going to stack it on top. So now you can see I had 2 responses that were of shoe size 8. Then we've got another shoe size 9. Then we've got another shoe size 8. Oops, I did not. There, that's better. And I've got another shoe size 8. Then I've got a 10. So looking at this graph, it's really easy to see that most people have shoe sizes in the 7 to 9 range. Lots of people had an 8. A couple people had a 9. Let's do another one. This one is asking us about the number of t-shirts that people own. So I'm going to have to change my bottom numbers for this. It looks like my lowest number of t-shirts is 6. My highest number of t-shirts is 13. So we're going to start down here at 6. I'm going to go up by 2s this time because I have to get all the way to 13. So let's go 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and then I don't even need 18, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, now let's drag our dots. The first person had 11 shirts. Well, 11 is right in between 10 and 12. The next person had 6, so I drag it to the 6. The next person had 12, drag it to the 12. The next person had 7. Well, 7 is halfway between 6 and 8. Then the next person had 8. Then the next person also had 7, so I'm going to drag it on top, stacking up to show there are 2 people that had 7 t-shirts. Next person's got 10. Next person's got 11, so I will put it on top of the 11 to show that there are 2. Next person has 13, which is halfway between 12 and 14. Then the last person had 12, so I'm going to stack it on top to show that there were 2 people that had 12. So you can see we've got a group of people down here that have between 6 and 8. Then we have a bigger group over here that have between 10 and 13. So our dot plots are really good for data points that are whole numbers or easy fractions. Remember the person with a size 7.5 shoe? That wasn't hard for us because we know that 7.5 is right in between 7 and 8. So I could just place it there. This is also really good for showing if we've got lots of repeats of the same value. So it was really obvious to us on slide 4 that we had a couple people, we had repeats for 7, 11, and 12. So it's really good for showing repeats. It's also good when you have a small to medium amount of data points. If I had 100 people, I really would not want to be out there putting 100 dots on that slide. We have another option for showing our quantitative data points as well. We can use a histogram. A histogram takes a little bit longer to set up, but is better for showing lots and lots and lots of data points because we use buckets that show how many responses are in that bucket. So if we look at this graph over here, how many minutes does it take you to shower? We've got these ranges on the bottom. That's our bucket. So here, between 6 and 10 minutes, we had one response because this is the, hash mark number 1. Over here, for people that said between 21 to 25 minutes, we had 4 responses in that range. So instead of showing you the exact data point, the histogram shows you the number of data points in that particular range. So these ranges down the bottom are called buckets. Now, the number of responses that are included in the bucket is called the bucket width. So we've got between 6 to 10 minutes. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 all included in that bucket. So that particular bucket has a width of 5. Every bucket should have the same width. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All of those have the same bucket width. So let's drag and drop our indicators of the different parts of the histogram. The bars on the histogram indicate the number of data points that are included. So for the 26 to 30 bucket, we had 3 data points, so 3 responses. For 21 to 25 minutes, we had 4 responses. The bucket width, we said, is the same for each bucket. So I'm going to resize this so it fits better. But here now it is pointing to our bucket widths, the 26 to 30. The bucket itself is that particular range. So I'm going to have this point to the very first bucket. Very first bucket is 6 to 10 minutes. That's our bucket. Our x-axis is always the data we recorded. So our x-axis is the number of minutes that it takes you to shower. And our y-axis is always the number of responses in each bucket. That will always be true. So our histograms are really good for quantitative data that has decimals in it because we're only looking for the range. You don't have to, figure out where 6.82 is. It's also really good if we have a super wide range of numbers because we can make a lot of buckets or a wider bucket. It's good if we have data that doesn't have very many repeats. And it's good if we have lots and lots of data points because even if we have a ton of data points, we might only end up graphing 5 or 6 bars, and that's not so bad. Okay, now, since the histogram is a little more complicated, we've got a couple more steps. First, you need to look at your data points and determine what bucket width you want to use. You should make sure that you have at least 3 buckets, but more buckets are great. Then you want to write out those ranges for each bucket. These are going to be your x-axis labels. Then count up how many responses fall into each bucket and create a bar graph that shows how many responses are in there. So here's some data. And you're going to fill out how many pets do you have. So here's a bunch of data points and you are filling out the last one. So I have 5 dogs. Where is the camera? There we go. I have 5 dogs. I have a cat. I have 2 horses. And then we have 2 ducklings. So that's 11. 11 pets. That's too many. You shouldn't have 11 pets. So now I'm going to think about my buckets. Okay, my lowest one was 0 and my highest is 11. So let's do a bucket width. I'm going to do a bucket width of 3. So that means this will be 0 to 2. It's going to bother me if this is not centered. Okay, so 0 to 2. Then we'll have, 0, 1, 2. Then we'll have 3, 4, 5. Okay, then we'll have 6, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm going to copy my bucket and paste it over here. So I'm adding. Oh, this is too small. Oh my God, it doesn't match. I can't cope if it doesn't match. There we go. So then we're going to have 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to end up having 4 buckets for mine. Okay. Now I've got I needed a title. So this is how many pets do people have? My bucket width was 3. I added my extra bucket. I wrote the labels on each bucket. Now I need to start counting up the number of responses in each bucket. So my first bucket was 0 to 2. So a 2, that counts. A 1, that counts. A 0, that counts. A 2, that counts. So I've got 4 responses in my first bucket. So I'm going to insert a bar that goes up to the number 4. Okay. My next bucket is 3 to 5. So, okay, a 3, that counts. Another 3, that counts. A 5, that counts. So my next bar has 3 responses. Yours might be different depending on how many pets you have. And depending on your bucket width. You didn't have to pick the same thing as me. Next is 6 to 8. So we have a 6. And that's it. So we only have 1 response, so it's only going to go up to 1. And then 9 to 11, I have just the 11. So again, I'll only have 1 response. I really like when these are all ordered in the back like this. So there's my histogram. We've got 1 more. So here's our next set of data. On the next slide, you will use this data to create a histogram. How much do you make in an hour? Well, I actually did the math. Teachers make about $40 an hour. If you count only the time that we're in school, like if you were to count the time that we actually spend working at home and grading, and because like grading, we don't get paid to grade, we just like have to do it. It's different. But for the number of hours we are required to be at the school, it's about $40 an hour. So my lowest wage here is $7.50. My highest is 40. So I'm going to pick a bucket width of 5. So I'm going to start with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is going to be $6 to $10. You absolutely can pick a different width, and you can start somewhere different. This is just what I arbitrarily decided to do. So that means the next will be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to make this a little smaller so it fits better. Okay. Then we'll have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then we'll have a new bucket. Oops. Didn't use my copy bucket. Here we go. Then we've got 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I'm going to make my bucket a little bit bigger so it matches better. There we go. You definitely do not have to be so obsessive about your bucket sizes all, like your physical bucket picture sizes all matching. I know that I'm extra. Okay, so next I need a bucket for 26 to 30. And then I'm going to have to squish these guys over so that they fit better. Okay, come on, bucket. Okay, another bucket. This is 31 to 35. And I'm gonna have to squish everybody over to fit a little bit better. So let's grab all of this stuff. Just slide it over. Oops, almost lost my y-axis label. So we're gonna bring that to the front. Oops. There we go. Okay, and my last bucket is 36 to 40, and that's the last one I need. Okay, so my title is going to be how much do you make per hour? My bucket width, I decided to be 5. I added my extra buckets. I wrote the labels on each bucket. Now I need to count up the number of responses in each bucket. So my first bucket is 6 to 10. So I've got a 750 and a 925. So I've got 2 responses in my first bucket. So there's my bar. My next bucket is 11 to 15. So here's an 11, 12, 25, 13, 25. Okay, so I had 3. So it goes up to 3. Okay, next I've got 16 to 20, 15, 75, and 16. Okay, so I've got a 15, 75, and a 16. That's 2 responses. Okay, 21 to 25. Okay, that's a 2250. And that's it. So I've got 1. Okay, then I didn't have anything from 26 to 30, nothing from 31 to 35, and then just my last data point in the last bucket. So that will have height of 1. And there it is. So here's my histogram of these data points. Now, this is really important that we notice that because I had the same bucket width, I have these empty buckets until I get to my last one. And that shows us visually how far away this data point is. Well, that makes sense because I am old and I'm working full time. So there's something different about that data point because there's something different about me. And this visually shows us that that's the case. So this is how we make our dot plots and our histograms. We're going to practice this again next lesson too. But for now, you're all done.